What if I told you that the minds behind the electric car revolution, the private space race, the world's largest professional network, and the biggest video platform on Earth all came from the same place? What if the blueprint for modern data analysis used by intelligence agencies, the tech that lets you buy with a single click, and the social networks connecting billions all trace their roots back to a single chaotic dot-com startup? This isn't a hypothetical. It's the wild story of how one company sold to eBay for a then shocking $1.5 billion didn't just create a few millionaires. It unleashed a tidal wave of billionaires and tech titans who went on to define the 21st century. They're known as the PayPal Mafia, a name that hints at their power, their network, and their incredible influence on Silicon Valley and the world. This is the story of how a brutal war for online payments forged a team of rebels who, after their first huge win, took their money, their methods, and their ambition and systematically built the future. How did one company become the single greatest incubator for success in modern history? To understand that, we have to go back to the Wild West of the late 90s, when two warring tribes were about to collide. The story of the PayPal Mafia doesn't start with one company, but two. Both were born in 1998, and almost poetically they were located in the same office building on University Avenue in Palo Alto, California. They were rivals from day one, each with a brilliant, almost messianic leader and a radical vision for the future of money. The first tribe was Confinity, a name blending confidence and infinity. It was the brainchild of two polar opposites. At the helm was Peter Thiel, a philosopher, former derivatives trader, and chess prodigy. Thiel wasn't just a businessman, he was a contrarian who believed the entire financial system was broken and ripe for a revolution. He dreamed of a future where currency was free from the control of governments. His co-founder was Max Levchin, a Ukrainian-born computer science whiz who had a deep fascination with cryptography and a near-religious belief in the power of code. Levchin was the technical engine. While Thiel plotted grand strategy, Levchin was in the trenches solving impossibly complex engineering problems. Their first idea seems almost quaint now, a system to let people beam money to each other using the infrared ports on their Palm Pilots. It was a clever solution for a problem almost nobody had, but it was their first step into digital payments. Just floors away, the second tribe was forming. This was X.com, and its leader was a force of nature named Elon Musk. Fresh off selling his first company, Zip2, for over $300 million, Musk had a massive war chest and an ambition that dwarfed nearly everyone in the valley. While Confinity was tinkering with Palm Pilots, Musk was aiming to build a complete all-in-one internet bank. He envisioned a one-stop shop for banking, investments, loans, everything. He poured $12 million of his own money into X.com, convinced he could single-handedly remake one of the world's oldest industries. The two companies were perfect reflections of their founders. Confinity, under Thiel and Levchin, was cautious, deeply technical, and obsessed with security. X.com, driven by Musk's relentless pace, was all about speed, growth, and market domination at any cost. Both were burning through cash, but they were running at different speeds toward what they thought were different goals. The stage was set for a showdown, but neither side could have guessed that their greatest invention wouldn't be a planned feature, but a lucky accident born from the pressure of competition. That Palm Pilot payment system, it was a dead end. Splitting a dinner bill was a novelty, not a billion-dollar business. But inside Confinity, the engineers had built a simple, almost overlooked demo that let people send money through email. It was just a small add-on to attract users to their main product, but when they launched it in late 1999, something unexpected happened. The email feature exploded. Suddenly, they had stumbled onto the real killer app. On a new online marketplace called eBay, thousands of buyers and sellers were struggling to pay each other. They were mailing physical checks and money orders, a slow, clunky process full of risk. Confinity's email payment system, which they branded PayPal, was like magic. A seller could just put a PayPal logo on their auction, and a buyer could pay instantly with a credit card. It was fast, frictionless, and revolutionary. The only problem was the team at X.com saw the exact same opportunity at the exact same time. Musk's grand vision for an online bank was proving too complicated to build quickly, but a simple email payment system, they could do that. X.com launched its own version, and the war began. What followed was one of the most ferocious and expensive battles for customers in Silicon Valley history. Both companies knew that in the world of payments, the network is everything. The platform with the most users becomes the standard, and the loser gets nothing. So they started a mad dash for growth. Their main weapon was simple: They paid people to sign up. Both PayPal and X.com offered a $10 bonus for every new user and another $10 for every person they referred. They were literally hemorrhaging money, burning through millions of dollars a month. It was a high-stakes game of chicken, each company betting the other would go broke first. The atmosphere in their shared office building was paranoid and tense. Employees would nervously eye each other in the elevator, each convinced the other was about to collapse. But as the cash burn got worse, a bigger threat emerged. More ominously, eBay, the very platform where their war was being fought, was developing its own payment solution, BillPoint. Both Thiel and Musk knew that if they kept fighting each other, they'd both be crushed by the 800-pound gorilla of e-commerce. So, in March of 2000, after tense negotiations, the sworn enemies agreed to a truce. X.com acquired Confinity. The two warring tribes were now one company operating under the X.com brand. Musk, with his larger stake and force of will, became CEO. Thiel was his number two. The merger was a strategic masterstroke, combining Musk's aggressive growth instincts with Thiel's strategic mind and Levchin's engineering genius. But merging two companies with such radically different cultures was like smashing two atoms together. The resulting explosion would either create a star or leave a crater. For the team inside, the real war had just begun. The new company was a pressure cooker. The X.com side, led by Musk, favored Microsoft-based systems. The Confinity side, under Thiel and Levchin, was fiercely loyal to open-source Linux systems and a more methodical, security-first approach. The internal arguments were constant and fierce, but this culture of intellectual combat became a defining feature. It was a meritocracy where the best idea won, no matter who it came from. As one early employee said, you had to be willing to have your idea torn apart, and you had to be able to defend it with data. This culture was immediately put to the test by a threat that nearly destroyed them: fraud. As PayPal's popularity surged, it became a prime target for organized crime, especially Russian hackers. They realized they could use stolen credit cards to create thousands of fake accounts, collect the $10 sign-up bonus, and then funnel the money out. The scale of the attack was staggering. The company's fraud losses skyrocketed to over $10 million a month. At its peak, they were losing tens of thousands of dollars per hour. The burn rate became a raging inferno. The credit card companies offered no help. To them, PayPal was an unregulated nuisance, and they simply charged back every fraudulent transaction, adding hefty fines on top. The situation seemed hopeless. The board urged Musk and Thiel to give up, to sell the company for parts before it went completely broke. This was the moment that truly forged the PayPal mafia. Faced with total collapse, the team didn't fold. They declared war on the fraudsters. The entire company became a single, obsessive anti-fraud unit. They worked 100-hour weeks, sleeping under their desks, fueled by caffeine and a shared mission. Leading the charge was Max Levchin. He realized that even the smartest humans couldn't review thousands of transactions a minute. The only solution was to build a machine to fight the criminals' machines. Levchin and his team began building one of the world's first automated fraud detection systems. Dozens of variables in real time, IP address, time of day, transaction amount, to flag suspicious activity for human review. But their most famous innovation came from a simple problem. The fraudsters were using automated bots to create fake accounts. How could they tell a human from a bot? Levchin's team developed a test. They showed a distorted image of a word and asked the user to type it. A human could read it, but a computer program of that era couldn't. They called it the Gauzabek-Levchin test. Today we know it as CAPTCHA. It was a revolutionary breakthrough that helped stop the fraud and has since become a staple of the internet. They had stared into the abyss and through sheer intellectual force engineered their way out. At the same time, they were outmaneuvering eBay's payment system, BillPoint. eBay was actively trying to kill PayPal, promoting BillPoint and making it the default option, but the PayPal team focused relentlessly on the power sellers, the small businesses that drove eBay's revenue. They offered better service and a better product. Users revolted, demanding PayPal. The team even created bots to scrape eBay and offer sellers a free PayPal button. It was guerrilla warfare, and it worked. Yet even as they won the external wars, the internal conflict over technology boiled over. In September 2000, while Musk was on a flight for a long-delayed honeymoon, a coup was staged. Led by Peter Thiel, the board voted to oust Musk as CEO and install Thiel. The primary reason was the bitter dispute over the company's technical infrastructure. When Musk landed, he was no longer in charge. To his credit, for the sake of the company's survival, Musk remained on the board, and as the largest shareholder, avoiding a civil war that would have destroyed them. With Thiel at the helm and the brand officially changed back to the more popular PayPal, the company was finally unified. They were a team that had survived internal strife, stared down bankruptcy, and beaten a corporate giant. They were hardened, loyal, and ready for their final act. By early 2002, PayPal had achieved the impossible. It was profitable. The fraud was under control, growth was still exploding, and it was the undisputed king of payments on eBay. Peter Thiel and the board decided it was time to go public. This was an audacious move. The dot-com bubble had burst just 2 years earlier, and investor appetite for tech IPOs was non-existent. To make matters worse, the IPO was scheduled shortly after the September 11th attacks, a time of profound market uncertainty. Advisors told them to wait, that it was too risky, but the team believed in their numbers. They pushed forward. In February 2002, PayPal went public. The IPO was a stunning success, with the stock jumping over 50% on its first day. It was a signal to Wall Street that real, profitable innovation wasn't dead. The IPO turned key founders and early employees into paper millionaires, but more importantly, it was a public validation of everything they had fought for. The IPO also forced eBay's hand. Their own system, BillPoint, was a failure. PayPal was now a public, profitable company that dominated transactions on their own platform. In a way, eBay was funding its biggest competitor. The writing was on the wall. If you can't beat them, buy them. Just a few months later, in July 2002, eBay announced it was acquiring PayPal for an astounding $1.5 billion. For the markets, it was a logical end to a long fight. For the employees, it was seismic. The sale instantly created about 200 millionaires. The core leadership team walked away with fortunes. Elon Musk, as the largest shareholder, received around $180 million before taxes. Peter Thiel netted about $55 million. Max Levchin, Reid Hoffman, and other key execs also received life-changing sums. This was the moment the financial fuel for the mafia was created. But it was a bittersweet victory. Many on the team felt they were selling their rebellious startup to a slow, bureaucratic corporation. They had won the war, but lost their independence. The unique high-stakes culture they had built was about to be diluted. Most of the core team knew they wouldn't last long inside eBay. This wasn't the end of their story. It was graduation day. Now, with deep pockets and a contact list full of the smartest people they knew, they were about to be unleashed on Silicon Valley. Within 4 years of the eBay acquisition, almost all of the 50 or so key members of the original PayPal team had left. They scattered across Silicon Valley, but they didn't just disappear. Instead, they started popping up everywhere, founding, funding, and advising a new generation of game-changing companies. The network forged in the dot-com fire was now being activated. In 2007, a famous article in Fortune magazine gave this group a name. Featuring a photo of Thiel, Musk, Levchin, and others dressed like gangsters, the headline read, "The PayPal Mafia." The name stuck, perfectly capturing the group's clannish loyalty, its vast influence, and its almost mythical success rate. But what made this group so effective? It wasn't just the money. Plenty of dot-com founders got rich. The answer lies in a powerful combination of 3 things. First was the shared culture. PayPal didn't hire based on Ivy League degrees or corporate resumes. They hired for raw intelligence, problem-solving ability, and a relentless drive. They actively sought out people who were, as Peter Thiel later said, contrarian and independent-minded. This created a tribe of people who thought alike and trusted each other's intellect implicitly. When they left PayPal, they knew exactly who to call for a brilliant engineer or a savvy investor. They called each other. Second was the shared trauma. Surviving the near-death experiences of the fraud attacks and the eBay wars created a bond like soldiers in combat. They knew who would perform under unimaginable pressure. This created a level of trust that money can't buy. When Reid Hoffman was starting his new venture, he didn't need to do months of due diligence on a former PayPal colleague. He already knew their strengths and weaknesses inside and out. Third, and maybe most importantly, they actively cultivated their network. They didn't just stay in touch, they invested in each other. Peter Thiel became the Don of the Mafia. He took his $55 million and became a venture capitalist with a unique advantage. This virtuous cycle became the Mafia's defining feature. Thiel's fund backed Musk's SpaceX. The alumni collectively were among the first investors in companies like Yelp, founded by PayPal vets Jeremy Stoppelman and Russell Simmons. Reid Hoffman got early funding for LinkedIn from his PayPal network. When Chad Hurley, Steve Chen, and Jawed Karim needed advice and seed money for a little video sharing website, they turned to their old bosses. The PayPal mafia wasn't just a group of successful people, it was an economic ecosystem, a self-perpetuating engine of innovation. The $1.5 billion from eBay was the seed capital. The network was the accelerator. What followed was an explosion of entrepreneurship that completely reshaped the tech landscape. Peter Thiel, the philosopher king, became Silicon Valley's most influential and unconventional investor. His biggest move was writing a $500,000 check to a fledgling social network started by a Harvard kid named Mark Zuckerberg. That company was Facebook, and Thiel's early investment would eventually be worth billions. But he wasn't just an investor. He co-founded Palantir Technologies, a secretive data mining company that took the fraud detection principles from PayPal and applied them to intelligence and defense for agencies like the CIA and FBI. With a net worth now well over $20 billion, Thiel has used his capital to back everything from space exploration to anti-aging research, cementing his role as the financial core of the mafia. No member has achieved more fame or controversy than Elon Musk. He walked away from the sale with about $180 million pre-tax and, in an act of incredible audacity, bet it all. He put $100 million into founding SpaceX with the insane goal of making humanity multiplanetary. He put over $70 million into Tesla, an electric car startup everyone thought was doomed. By 2008, both companies were on the brink of bankruptcy. But in a dramatic turnaround, SpaceX's fourth rocket launch was a success, securing a vital NASA contract, while Tesla secured a last-minute funding round. He had gambled everything and won. Today, Tesla is the world's most valuable car company, and SpaceX has revolutionized space travel. As the richest person on the planet, Musk's career is the most extreme example of the group's ambition. Reid Hoffman, PayPal's former executive VP, is the ultimate networker. He understood that professional connections were a form of currency. After leaving eBay, he founded LinkedIn in his living room in 2002. He leveraged his PayPal network for early funding and growth, and the platform steadily became the definitive professional network online. In 2016, Microsoft acquired LinkedIn for a staggering $26.2 billion. Hoffman also became one of the Valley's most respected investors, backing Facebook, Airbnb, and dozens of other startups, acting as the connective tissue of the entire ecosystem. Max Levchin, the technical soul of PayPal, kept solving hard, data-intensive problems. He founded Slide, a social media company he sold to Google for a reported $182 million. But his biggest success came from returning to fintech. In 2012, he founded Affirm, a buy now, pay later company that uses sophisticated data modeling, a direct evolution of his work fighting fraud at PayPal, to offer simple, transparent loans at the point of sale. Affirm became a multi-billion-dollar public company, now estimated to be worth around $1.8 billion. Levchin also became an influential investor himself, backing his old colleagues when they founded the review platform Yelp. Perhaps the most universally known product from the mafia is YouTube, founded by three early PayPal employees, designer Chad Hurley and engineers Steve Chen and Jawed Karim. The story goes they were frustrated trying to share video clips from a dinner party. In 2005, they built a simple platform that just worked. Karim uploaded the first ever video, Me at the Zoo. The growth was meteoric. Server costs spiraled out of control, so they turned to their old network, securing early investment from Reid Hoffman and others. Just 18 months after its founding, Google acquired YouTube for $1.65 billion. The list goes on. David Sacks, PayPal's COO, founded Yammer and sold it to Microsoft for $1.2 billion. Jeremy Stoppelman and Russell Simmons founded Yelp. The branches of the PayPal family tree grew to touch nearly every major sector of the tech industry. The stories are incredible, each one worthy of its own documentary. From fighting hackers to launching rockets, this group's journey is a masterclass in ambition. It makes you wonder which of these individual empire stories is the most impressive. Is it Musk's world-changing ambitions, Thiel's strategic plays, or the YouTube trio's disruption of media? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're finding this story as fascinating as we do, take a moment to subscribe and ring the bell. It helps us continue bringing you deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. So what was the secret sauce? It was a perfect storm of ingredients that may never be replicated. PayPal was a crucible. It attracted an unprecedented concentration of young, brilliant, and ferociously ambitious talent. It then subjected them to a series of near-death experiences that forged them into a battle-hardened unit, forcing them to innovate at a pace rarely seen. The culture they built, a meritocracy of ideas driven by data, became their shared ideology. Then came the acquisition. The $1.5 billion from eBay wasn't just an exit, it was an injection of rocket fuel. It gave these already proven operators the two things they needed most: the capital to chase their wildest dreams and the freedom from having to ask for permission. But the final, critical ingredient was the network itself. The mafia wasn't just a nickname, it was a functional economic system. They trusted each other, vouched for each other, and most importantly, they wrote the first checks for each other. An investment from a PayPal alumnus was more than just money. It was a stamp of approval from the most respected group in Silicon Valley. The legacy of the PayPal mafia is the modern tech landscape itself. They didn't just build companies, they built entire industries. Tesla and SpaceX redefined what's possible in manufacturing. LinkedIn created the blueprint for our online professional lives. YouTube fundamentally changed media and culture. Palantir wrote the playbook for big data. Their influence is so pervasive, it's hard to navigate the digital world without bumping into a company founded, funded, or heavily influenced by this small group. Their story is a testament to the power of talent density, the strength forged in crisis, and the incredible exponential power of a trusted network. PayPal didn't just create a payment platform. It created a new generation of founders. It was a machine that took in raw ambition and intelligence and produced the architects of our digital age. Their reign has defined the 21st century, and we are all living in the world they built.